Hello, welcome to the stream. Hi, I'm Aries. We're reading the Scum Villain Self-Saving System. This is part 2 of our installment of volume 1. And I'm not gonna lie, everyone. Today, I am so tired. I'm so fucking tired. If you follow me on Blue Sky, you'd know. But I did not get enough sleep last night, which was actually just yesterday because I sleep during the day now, apparently. And I also have cramps, so that's fun. But you know what's more fun? Scum Villain. Scum Villain is more fun, so we're still gonna do that today. I might not get through as much as I want to today, but you know what? We'll see what happens. I'll see what happens if I fall asleep mid-stream, then it becomes a sleep stream. Oh well. Sometimes we have those days, okay? Sometimes we have those days when we're reading our favorite books on stream live, and then we fall asleep because we didn't get enough sleep the day before. And that's fine. Call it a cat nap, you know? Like, pretty on brand if you ask me anyway. It's fine. It's fine. I'm just upset that I didn't get enough sleep. I get so pissy when I don't get sleep. When I don't get enough sleep. Not when I don't get it. It's when other people interrupt my sleep. That's when I get really pissy. I get angry. Hi, Cookie. How are you? But yeah, how are we doing today, other than that? Apart from me and my troubles. And my troubles, nobody knows the trouble I see. How are we doing today? I hope you're all doing okay. That's also why I'm streaming 2 hours earlier. Simple as that. Nothing else I need to add on to that. But yeah, I might be a little, slow to read today. Peanut, yeah. Hello, welcome. Thanks for the follow. Hope you have a good time. Yeah. Yeah, what if I just call you yeah instead of Peanut? Yeah. I'm sorry, how would you like me to refer to you? Is what I should actually say. That tea is so good I could melt. It's melting me. I had tummy issues yesterday. And a bit today. Call you Peanut? Got it. You got it. Oh, thank you for the head pat. Like, wait, why so many? Oh my god. Okay. Yes. I do appreciate it. I do appreciate a good head pat. 3. Triple threat. Okay, let's read. Guys, let's read. Scum Villain. We're on page 48. In the middle of the page, at the scene break. Still on chapter 1. We're gonna finish this chapter at least. It's only like 10 pages. And it has an illustration in it. So yeah. Let's do it. Let's go. How's my reading? How's my computer being so loud for? I can't read. Real! Me too. But we're doing this anyway. Okay, anyway. Page 48. In the days of Shen Qingqiu's recuperation following his awakening from that inexplicable fever, Yue Qingyuan came to visit him many times. As the sect leader of the world's foremost major cultivation sect, which might be likened to being the principal of a oh my god, I don't know if I can read today. Which might be likened to being the principal of a comprehensive cultivation university, his workload had to be heavy. Yet he was still so considerate to his shidi. As a stranger in a strange land, Shen Qingqiu practically wanted to shed tears of gratitude. In that the original flavor had actually turned on such a kind superior and fellow disciple that he had breached their brotherly covenant just like that. It just made clear how much of a scumbag he was. Now that Shidi has rested for several days, has your health improved? Ye Qingyan asked, his eyes full of earnest concern as he held one of the bamboo house's porcelain tea bowls. I have long since recovered, said Shen Qingqiu, lightly waving his folding fan and feeling at home in the atmosphere of brotherly love. I've caused Xishong such trouble, making him worry. Then I suppose it's about time for Shidi to leave the mountains, said Ye Qingyuan. Sorry. Oh, no. Please, if you're gonna sneeze, just sneeze. If you're gonna sneeze, just sneeze. It's not happening. Comfy? Oh, not for long. Not for long. But you know what? I think this is exactly the book where I can let out all my chaos in. So it's fine. Oh my god. Then I suppose it's about time for Shidi to leave the mountains, said Ye Qingyan. Is there anything you need? The hand Shen Qingqiu was using to fan himself froze. Leave the mountains? Did the illness make you forget? Ye Qingyan asked, surprised. Didn't you tell me before to leave the manor of Shanghu City to you as a training opportunity for your disciples? So it was some troublesome project undertaken by the original flavor. But while Shen Qingqiu had been familiarizing himself with this body's spiritual power and techniques, they still weren't second nature. How could he take disciples down from the mountains for training, just as he was about to summon his resolve and embarrass himself? Renege? What is that word? Renege? I've read this book multiple times before. What is that word? Renege? Renege? Oh, I don't know what that means. To that, and say that his body wasn't well after all. The system's unfeeling voice reverberated in his skull. Beginner level quest issued. Location: Shuanghu City. Quest: complete the training. Please click to accept. At the same time, the quest synopsis popped up before him with two options on the bottom, the left saying accept, the right saying reject. So this was a beginner level quest. Shen Qingqiu's gaze lingered on accept for a while. The option blinked green, a ding sounded, and the system said, Quest successfully accepted. Please thoroughly read the provided files and make your preparations. We wish you a swift success. Shen Qingqiu came back to life. Naturally, I remember, he said while smiling. It's just that, these days, I've rested too much and grown slow. I had almost forgotten about this matter. I'll head out in a few days. Ye Qingyan nodded. If you're not completely recovered, there's no need to force yourself. There's no rush to train your disciples either. You especially don't need to personally take care of this matter. Shen Qingqiu agreed, still smiling, but he couldn't help give Ye Qingyan 3 extra glances. Zhengmen Xishang, your current role, it's getting a bit too much like a quest-giving NPC. He's so stupid. Foxy? An ara, okay. Arara. How's that? I'm sorry, I've subjected you all to that. But it was a redeem. Okay, moving on. Anyway, hi, how you doing? Wait, why am I blushing? Why am I the one blushing? That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, it's fine. Where was I? Shen Qingqiu agreed, so smile you did over that. Okay. All affairs on Qingjing Peak, whether large or small, were handed to and looked after by Shen Qingqiu's trusted subordinate, Ming Fan. Shen Qingqiu had discovered that in matters that didn't involve a certain protagonist, Ming Fan was surprisingly efficient and intelligent. They were able to set out the following day. Before leaving Qingjing Peak, Shen Qingqiu briefly inspected his appearance. Teal robes, loose sash, sword at left hip, fan in right hand. Elegant, cultured, reliable, graceful. A properly otherworldly being. In short, absolutely not OOC. Perfect! Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. At the bottom of the long 100-step stone stairway, waiting by the mountain gates, was the carriage prepared for Shen Qingqiu, as well as a collection of horses for his accompanying disciples. Are you kidding? Shen Qingqiu muttered in his head. In the end, this is still a cultivation setting. Why aren't we flying on swords? Oh my god. Sorry. I have allergy pills now. And yet, still it happens. Yes, okay. Even in a magical setting like Harry Potter, not every wizard goes out riding brooms, the system coldly replied. It would be too conspicuous. You sure are knowledgeable, Shen Qingqiu muttered. Did you do business over at Harry Potter's before? The system typed out a giant line of hovering symbols. ... At the end, what? In all these years of the system's operation, Shen Qingqiu might have been the first person bored enough to act so familiarly with it, let alone to fuck around with it. On the other hand, if he thought about it, this setup made sense. This trip down the mountain was for the sake of training, and the majority of these disciples were young and lacked experience. They hadn't even claimed their personal swords yet. According to the traditions of Sangchong Mountain Sect, only once a disciple's cultivation reached a certain stage could they go to Wangjian Peak, one of the 12 peaks, to pick a suitable blade. Though it was said that the person picked the sword, in truth, the sword also picked the person. If a person with subpar talent insisted on taking a top-class sword capable of condensing spiritual energy, I'm gonna start over. I need to. I'm getting spit everywhere. My brain is not working. Streak! Congrats. Oh my god, thanks for the bits. I'm trying. It's really not working today. I did not get enough sleep. I'm sorry. Oh my god, I do have a bits alert. I forgot about that. Okay, starting over that paragraph. Though it was said that the person picked the sword, in truth, the sword also picked the person. If a person with subpar talent insisted on taking a top-class sword capable of condensing spiritual energy collected from the heavens and earth, it would be the equivalent of a beautiful woman marrying an ugly man or arranging fresh flowers in cow dung. As you can imagine, the sword would be entirely unwilling. Okay. Luo Bingke's real golden finger only activated when he came upon his own personal sword, the mystical Xinmo. Shen Qingqiu entered the carriage. Its appearance wasn't especially ornate, but the interior was both spacious and comfortable, and a small incense burner faintly smoldered within. Once he sat, Shen Qingqiu had a sudden premonition that something wasn't quite right. He abruptly poked out his fan and raised it to lift the curtains. The second he looked outside, he felt he should have been struck blind by the sight. No wonder he'd thought that the silhouette hurrying back and forth around the carriage seemed familiar. The person everyone was ordering around to do miscellaneous tasks was none other than the great male lead, Luo Bingke. Just then, Luo Bingke hauled the last items onto the carriage, a white jade chessboard that was mandatory luggage on all of Shen Qingqiu's trips, though it usually went unused. Fucking bitch. Pompous bitch. He raised his head to see Shen Qingqiu observing him with a complicated expression and jolted slightly. Respectfully, he said, Shizun, the injuries Luo Bingke had received from Shen Qingqiu's Y'all, I don't even know if I can make it through this chapter. I don't know if I can even make it through this chapter. My golly gosh. I'm gonna read slower. And for VOD watchers, you might want to speed this up. I'm gonna read pretty slow. The injuries Luo Bingke had received from Shen Qingqiu's pre-fever discipline were just about healed. The bruises on his face had vanished, and one could finally clearly see what he looked like. Even though he was young, his features still soft and immature, no degree of youth could conceal the handsome grace within him. On top of that, he walked and moved with a shining air. Who would ever guess that this was Qing Jing Peak's most miserable flower bud, which had been ravaged by wind and rain for many years? Although Luo Bingke was doing the rough work of moving luggage and equipment, his attitude was meticulous. It was hard not to be moved by that earnest and focused bearing. It was especially hard for Shen Qingqiu, who already had some fondness for this male lead. He was, indeed, very fond of this ruthlessly decisive protagonist, who was so clear-cut with who deserved his kindness and who his hatred. After staring for a moment, Shen Qingqiu made a "oh" sound, then pulled back his fan, dropping the curtains. It had to be said, the male lead was inescapably the male lead. Even with how downtrodden this kid was, with no history, no prospects, nor parents to love him, it was no wonder that there were still so many first, second, third, and fourth female leads ready to hang off his every word, trail in his wake, and otherwise throw themselves at him. Good looks were the true way of the world. This also explained why there was always some cannon fodder or another who found him an eyesore and who wanted to vent by beating him until his head looked like a pig's. Then, something occurred to Shen Qingqiu. That's not right. If the total number of traveling disciples, including Luo Bingke, was 10, and there were only 9 horses, then weren't they missing one? All right, even if he'd thought with his toes, he'd have known who to blame. As expected, Ming Fan's gleeful voice cut through the snickering outside. Actually, we're short on horses, so we have no choice but to inconvenience Shidi this time. Although, since Shidi's foundation is poor, it's perfect. You can also take this chance to train. Short on horses, my ass. In recent years, of all the major sects, Sangchong Mountain Sect had become number 1 when it came to cultivation. It had no real business rivals. That it was overflowing with wealth could be left unsaid. In short, like they'd want for even a single horse. What? Ming Fan paused, truly well versed in digging his own cannon fodder grave. What sort of expression is that? You dissatisfied? I wouldn't dare, said Luo Bingke evenly, neither haughty nor humble. At this point, a young girl's bell-like laughter cut the air. Ning Ying Ying had arrived. Xizhong, what are you two talking about? Shen Qingqiu held his forehead. Really, young lady, your timing. Ning Ying Ying was a powerful catalyst in the continued worsening of Ming Fan's and Luo Bingke's relationship. Whenever she appeared, Luo Bingke was in for no shortage of suffering, and Ming Fan was in for an equal amount of personal grave digging. Once again, Shen Qingqiu tentatively lifted the carriage curtains a little, dithering over whether he should speak. As expected, he beheld Ning Ying excitedly, waving her hand. "Allo, not enough horses? Come ride with me." She really does bring a lot of hatred down on Lobinka. So it is known, although this type of plot, wherein the downtrodden protagonist receives special attention from a beauty, is a satisfying trope often seen on Zhongdian literature, it is also the likeliest to incite the envy of others and subsequent persecution. In this moment, if Lord Binka accepted Ning Ying's suggestion, he could forget about getting any peace on this trip. Shen Qingzhou could no longer sit by and bear it. Ying, don't make a fuss. Men and women mustn't be too intimate. No matter how close you are with your shidi, there ought to be limits. Mingfan, we're dawdling. Why haven't we set out yet? Mingfan was overjoyed, no doubt thinking, Shizun and I are on the same page. He hastily urged the group to depart. Ning Ying pouted a bit, but said nothing. That little skit over for now. Shen Qingzhou let his mind wander from it and returned to silently reading the files spread out on his system deck. This trip wasn't to commemorate the first plot line to take him down the mountain. It was, most importantly, concerned with a beginner level quest that would determine whether he could unfreeze the OOC function. Shen Qingzhou couldn't afford to treat it with anything but the utmost seriousness. The file described the location, a small city several tens of kilometers away from Sangchong Mountain Sect. Recently, a number of murders had occurred within it. Already, 9 people were dead. Every victim shared a common fate. The skin on their body had been completely, meticulously peeled off from head to toe and with perfect precision, as if the skin had never been attached to the deceased body at all. It was horrifying. It was enough to horrify anyone. Therefore, the murderer had come to be known as the Skinner Demon. The Skinner Demon's chosen victims were all young, beautiful women. Therefore, in Shuanghu City, every family with daughters, wives, or concubines shut and locked their doors the moment night fell. Despite this, they had been unable to stop the Skinner Demon from coming and going as it pleased. A succession of 9 horrible deaths, yet the officials had no idea what to do. The city's people were in a state of panic. There were even rumors that it was the work of a ghost. Otherwise, how could the culprit come and go without a trace? Several influential families had met together and at last decided to send someone to Sangchong Mountain Sect to plead for assistance from the immortal cultivators. Shen Qingzhou had already read this information multiple times, but no matter how many times he read it, it wasn't the least bit helpful. The hell is a Skinner Demon? Never heard of it. Is this a newly added plotline or a hidden one? Is it dangerous? Is it strong? Am I even going to be able to deal with it? This isn't what we agreed to. In response to these questions, the system said, What isn't? You were once a novel reader. Novels are a type of artistic creation, and in any artistic creation, there are always decisions that must be made and things that must be left out. Now that you've become part of this world, you naturally have to experience everything yourself, regardless of importance. You must follow every plotline to the very end, even ones omitted from the original work. Shen Qingzhou had no say in any of it. As such, he diligently trained for numerous days, single-mindedly seeking to make his abilities second nature, lest he croak at the hands of some no-name monster before he ever had the chance to die beneath the male lead's feet, like a general passing away before his first victory. Love the voice, thank you. Thank you very much. Luo Benke was still outside, so at no moment did Shen Qingzhou dare to relax his vigil, keeping an eye out for any untoward activity. At the same time, he rummaged through the carriage interior. Every comfort one could imagine was on hand. Shen Qingzhou managed to dredge up 5 or 6 different tea sets, and he was speechless at the sight of them. No matter that in his past life he could have counted as a wealthy second gen, He still hadn't been this pointlessly indulgent in his pursuit of first world affluenza, okay? At this time, a wave of cackles rolled in from outside the carriage. He swept a glance outside. Lubinka trailed along at the back of the group, at times walking, at times running. From time to time, horses encircled him, purposely kicking up a cloud of dust until he was filthy and caked with it. Shen Qingqiu couldn't help clutching the handle of his fan, knuckles itching faintly. This was only a book, and all the people were constructs, imaginary characters. Logically, Shen Qingqiu was very clear on this fact. But when a character was actually being taunted and bullied right before his eyes, it was just flat-out unrealistic to expect him to be completely unmoved. Having attempted to dissuade them several times to no avail, Ning Yingying finally realized her interference only made things worse. She anxiously urged her horse toward the carriage and called out, "Shizun! The Shishong, look at them!" "What about them?" Shen Qingqiu asked placidly. Though his heart was moved, he didn't show it. "They're bullying someone so viciously, yet you're not telling them off," she said defiantly, her voice carrying with the strength of her indignation. "If they keep on like this, Shizun, what are you teaching your disciples to become?" Even though she was directly tattling on them, Ming Fan and his lackeys didn't feel any pressure at all. They were all used to the prior Shen Qingqiu silently permitting these actions. The harsher their bullying of Lo Bingke, the happier they made their teacher. Why would they exercise restraint? Ming Fan was happiest of all. He was so sure that on the day that you're gay. Ming Fan was happiest of all. He was so sure that on that day at the back of the mountain, Lo Bingke had used some manner of sorcery he'd learned from who knew where. Today, Shizun was here, and he'd be crushed. Shen Qingqiu made a "oh" sound, then he spoke a single line. "Lo Bingke, come here." Lo Bingke's expression went blank. Accustomed to this call, he gave his quiet assent and walked over. At first, everyone was still riding high on what the fuck is that word? Schadenfreude? What? Hey, what the fuck? Why am I reading German right now? What? I don't know what that means. At first, everyone was riding high on that, thinking that Shen Qingqiu was calling Lo Bingke to grab him by the ear and discipline him. What happened next shattered their entire worldview. Shen Qingqiu used his fan to lift the curtains, then jerked his chin at Lo Bingke before shooting a glance at the carriage interior. Even though he didn't speak, the meaning couldn't have been clearer. "Allo, hurry and get on," Ning Yingying said happily. "Shizun is letting you ride with him." Like thunder on a clear day. Every single word was had an exclamation mark on that in that sentence, by the way. If they hadn't known their master so well for so long, Ming Fan and his fellows would have suspected that Shen Qingqiu had been possessed by a demon. Lo Bingke had also frozen in astonishment, but his reaction was nevertheless swift. He paused only for a second before saying, "Many thanks to Shizun." Then he stepped into the carriage, ever conscientious, and sat straight back in a corner. His hands and feet remained tucked in, like he was afraid that his patched clothes would dirty the interior. He's so cute, I'm so sorry. Fair. It's only a little bit. He's so cute, he's just a baby. Oh my god. Warning. Warning rejected, said Shen Qingqiu. I wasn't OOC. Shen Qingqiu would never do anything to alleviate Lo Bingke's troubles. Verdict. OOC level 100%. Have you carefully examined this character's complicated inner world? Shen Qingzhou countered. Of course he would never do anything purely to alleviate Luo Bingke's troubles, but right now my goal is to prevent Ning Yingying from losing faith in me as her teacher. Yingying is my dearest little disciple, and she begged me. How could I let her plea go unheard? ... So my actions are completely in line with Shen Qingzhou's internal logic, Shen Qingzhou declared. Your warning is invalid. Preach King. Preach King. What type of tea are you drinking? It is a wonderful, I think it's orange and passion fruit. That combo is just so good. It really is the best combo. Oh, but we love Shen Qingzhou. During their exchanges over the last couple of days, Shen Qingzhou had gradually figured out a handful of the system's quirks. It had rules, but these rules were not rigid, and that was the case. What? As that was the case, there was a bit of leeway for bargaining. As he'd hoped, for the time being, the system couldn't think of an argument to enforce its deduction. Riding high on the delight of victory in the first battle, Shen Qingzhou couldn't help but laugh. However, Shen Qingzhou had in that moment been quietly sitting in the carriage, seemingly meditating, with his eyes closed in a trance. When Luo Bingke suddenly heard him laugh, he couldn't resist stealing a glance. To tell the truth, it would have been a lie to say that Luo Bingke wasn't surprised. Even though he'd always reserved Shen Qingzhou, he had no illusions about how his master treated and looked at him. At first, he thought that if Shen Qingzhou asked him to get in the carriage, there must be something even more terrible waiting for him within, and he had mentally prepared himself for it. He hadn't expected Shen Qingzhou to not bother with him at all, instead focusing only on himself as he began to meditate. Luo Bingke thought for a moment. It seemed to him that he had never been this close to his teacher before, and that he had never had the opportunity to carefully examine Shen Qingzhou like this. Appearance-wise, you couldn't complain about him. Perhaps Shen Qingzhou couldn't qualify as supremely beautiful, but he was certainly good-looking, and you wouldn't tire of looking at him. The profile of his face, in three-quarter view, seemed to have been carved by creeks and mountain springs, and when not fixed on a cold scowl, it became gentle and bright. As soon as Shen Qingzhou opened his eyes, he found Luo Bingke staring at him. He saw a glimpse of the future, Luo Bingke's unique grace, that of eyes like cold stars, a soft and radiant smile, with muted words and quiet laughter. Luo Bingke had been caught red-handed, and right as he was struck, lost at what to do, Shen Qingzhou smiled at him. Sorry, the illustration. Waffly! We're reading Scum Villain, yes. PPL. True, when aren't we? Oh my god. Wait, I forgot I bring illustrations on now. I have them all. Here we go. Here we go. This is the illustration. Where is it? Yes, it's this one. He's so cute! Look at the baby! Look at the baby! I love them. I love them so much. Okay, there's literally like a paragraph left of this chapter. Let's just read it with this on here. Men with long hair, yes! Okay. This smile was purely unconscious, but Luo Bingke felt like he'd been pricked by a small, fine thorn. He quickly averted his gaze and became increasingly awkward, unsure of what he was feeling. Very soon, Shen Qingzhou couldn't bring himself to smile anymore. The system had delivered a notification. Violation. OOC B points -5. Current B points 165. Saith Shen Qingzhou. Even a brief smile warrants a deduction? Saith the system, most rigidly. OOC is OOC. Saith? So fucking stupid. How fucking stupid is that? How fucking stupid is that? god, he's so cute though. Look at them. He's smiling because he loved him because he's such a baby. Look at the baby. Look at the baby. Look at that baby. I can't deal with it. I can't deal with it. Okay, that's the end of that chapter. We got through it. I'm a man? Yeah. So true, King. Okay. Oh, we got through the first chapter, yeah. We can do it. We can do it. Ugh. Okay. Yes, our next stopping point is quite. And I said in the beginning, I probably won't get through much today. I'm so fucking tired. You got through. You know, Calic. You're all talk. You are all talk. Hey, it's a party up here. You guys are all so cute. I always hide my stream avatars because they're a bit distracting. But you're all so cute. Yeah, okay, there we go. Okay. It's literally 9:45 p.m. and I feel like I'm about to fall asleep now. Yeah, I did not get any sleep last night. I'm kidding, I have a party. Yeah, Okay. Chapter. Can you even guess what chapter 2 is called? I bet you can't. It's called Mission. Yeah, I'm not very creative with my stream titles. Not at all. Also, my brain isn't working. It's lagging so much today. At work as per usual. Real. Also, I didn't even get a bookmark. You know what I'm using as a bookmark? It's like the tissue box thing where you lift it up. It's a piece of cardboard. But it's like the perfect size for a bookmark. So it's a tissue box tab. Okay. Mission. I have so many bookmarks, except when I need them. Real, they're gone. Actually, I know where they all are, but I'm like using most of them still. But the other ones that I have, like I have the Modal Zusha one from the special edition of the last book. But that's for Modal Zusha. I can't use that for Scum Villain. And I have Heaven Official Blessing one. I can't use that for Scum Villain. It's blasphemy. Anyway, Mission. Page 63. After I chew on my lip for a little. It's distracting, okay? It's quite distracting. Okay. Having learned his lesson, Shen Qingzhou spent the rest of the trip stone-faced until they finally arrived at Shuanghu City without incident. Although the city wasn't large, it was reasonably bustling. After gaining entry, they took up residence at the mansion of Old Master Chen, the city's richest man. He was also the one who'd facilitated sending someone to Sangchong Mountain sect to plead for assistance. 2 of Old Master Chen's beloved concubines had died horribly at the Skinner demon's hands, so he'd been desperately looking forward to Shen Qingzhou's arrival. He rubbed his beautiful third concubine's small, white, jade-like hands as he moaned and groaned to their whole party, eyes overflowing with tears. "Immortal masters, you must help us. Nowadays I dare not let Dire, D-I-E, I don't know. I dare not let Dear leave my side for a second, for fear that the moment she's careless, she'll be killed by that wretched monster." At these NPC-like lines, A powerful sense of deja vu made Shen Qingzhou's face twitch. He very much did not enjoy the sight of a 60-year-old coot and a young girl in her teens cooing at each other right in front of him. Blech. Luckily, Shen Qingzhou retained the divine air of a lofty master. After this perfunctory I know how to read, I promise. After this perfunctory meeting, he aloofly took his leave to his room. Moan and groan, yeah. Leaving Mingfan make small talk with old Master Chen. Certain privileges came with simply being a master. No matter how aloof you were, no one dared say anything. In fact, the more aloof, the more respectful the gaze that trailed after you. Soon, Ning Yingying knocked and entered. "Shizun, Yingying wants to go and walk around the market," she said sweetly. "Would Shizun like to keep me company?" Speaking truthfully, no man could dislike being so prettily cajoled. It has a hyphen because it's on one line and it's the next line. Okay. Speaking truthfully, no man could dislike being so prettily cajoled by a young girl. When she entered, Shen Qingzhou had his back facing her, but upon hearing her plea, his heart half melted. He steeled the remaining half and glanced back with the air of one looking up from a book, the essence of a cold and detached intellectual, and said blandly, "If Yingying wants to go and walk around, she may ask several Shishong or Shidi to accompany her. This master still has things to do before confronting the Skinner demon." No, he does not. What are you talking about? Did he say gays or gays? Real. Guess you'll never know. Oh my god. The more respect with the gays that treat. Sorry, that's such a good line to get that mixed up with. Okay. Who else would she ask to keep her company? How could Shen Qingzhou not know? At the same time, how could he not want to go out and play? Up until now, he'd been hunkered down inside Qingjing Peak's bamboo house, forced to fake being an awesome master of arts and literature, meaning everything he did had to be done blandly, in quotations. Blandly speaking, blandly laughing, blandly practicing the sword, blandly being a poser, bland to the point that he often had the urge to scatter a handful of salt all over his head. What a damn pain. Scatter salt on his head. He wants to season himself. That's so good. God, I forgot all of these lines. It's so good. And now, when he finally got a break to take a trip down the mountain, he was still trapped in his room because of the system's stance that the original Shen Qingzhou liked quiet and would be unwilling to mingle. Shen Qingzhou didn't even want to pretend to meditate, so he lay on the bed, just pretending to be dead. He's so fucking dramatic. God, he's so dramatic. I love him so much. Shortly before sunset, Mingfan entered the room to deliver a report. Finally, someone had come to talk to him, to keep him company. Shen Qingzhou couldn't help but want to weep for joy. Every perk belonged to the male lead, every loneliness to the cannon fodder. Accompanying young girls to view colorful lanterns and such, none of that was for their lot. "This disciple has closely examined the corpse," said Mingfan. With a solemn expression, he presented the items in his hand. Shen Qingzhou took a closer look. They were 2 stacks of yellow talismans, written upon with cinnabar ink. The paper had blackened to a shade akin to necrosis. "You use these talismans to assess the corpses for demonic energy?" he asked. Shizun's eyes see all. This disciple used these talismans in 2 locations, the first at the soil, near the grave of the victims who'd been buried, the second beside a yet unburied corpse still at the coroner's. If even the grave soil was this saturated with demonic energy, then that confirmed that the Skinner demon was undoubtedly of the demon race. Finally, Shen Qingzhou knew what they faced. He cleared his throat, which made his following humph sound even colder. They dare to harm the lives of people within 100 kilometers of Sangcheng Mountain. Since these demonic lowlives came to our door, they can't blame our disciples for enacting justice on behalf of the heavens. Listen, he really didn't want to say this corny line so full of hot air, but he'd have been OOC if he didn't. Sure, Shen Yuan. Sure, I'm so sure. One second, I need to, my dog is outside of the door. The door? Outside of the room, and he wants to come in. I'm just gonna let him in for a second. Shen... Oh, dude. Sir? Come in. Shen Qingzhou. No, it's Shen Qingzhou. SHENQINGQIU. Yes. I can spell in my head. I'm so smart. I'm so smart. I am so clever. I am so clever. How am I almost done with my tea already? That's crazy. How long have we been here? Not even an hour. Oh boy. You want a little bit? Thank you. Oh, I didn't see the stretch redeem. Thank you for that. I'm stretching now. That was a while ago. Okay. Here we go. Next page. Page 66. Mingfan gazed at him reverentially. Reverentially. That's a word. Shizun is wise. If Shizun took action, that demon would be taken care of in one strike, ridding the people of evil. Yes. Shen Qingzhou could say nothing. It seemed this master-disciple duo was right in the mold of "You reign, I'll worship," a most joyous union. To tell the truth, Shen Qingzhou was extremely satisfied with Mingfan as a disciple. Even though he was a rich young master and spoiled rotten, he was never even a little arrogant in front of his teacher. Instead, he was absolutely obedient and incredibly respectful. A man could never dislike being worshipped like a god. Mingfan had also single-handedly handled the travel preparations, from arrangements of food to lodging. If his IQ hadn't inevitably plummeted whenever he laid eyes on the protagonist, transforming him into a schoolyard bully capable of any misdeed, he would also be a promising young sprout. And moreover, as a fellow victim, Shen Qingzhou always felt a kind of pity for this cannon-fodder disciple who, in the end, Luo Bingke would throw into an I can't read this. I blocked this out of my brain the multiple times I read this. Trigger warning, ants. This is a trigger warning I need. Can I just skip over it? Can you just imagine what it is? You know what it is. Ants, death, the end. Okay, I'm skipping over that. You get it. This trip down from the mountain sect is for the sake of your training, unless, as a last resort, this master will not assist you. What? Unless as a last resort, this master will not assist you. Mingfan, as the most senior disciple, you must design carefully. What? You must design careful strategies, lest you let the demon harm your fellow disciples. Trigger warning yourself for real. I did. I saw the word ant and I skipped over it. I can't do it. Yes, this disciple has already devised a tactical formation. As long as that demon... Before Mingfan could finish, a person rushed into the room, interrupting them. Shizun! Lobinka's face was stark white as he yelled. Shen Qingzhou's heart thumped once, but he feigned indifference. What has happened to make you shout so loudly and in such panic? Ning Ying Shiji went with me to the city's market earlier today, Lobinka said. Once evening fell, I urged Shiji to return, but she refused. Then somehow she suddenly vanished. This disciple searched the entire street once but couldn't find her, and he could only come back with a plea for Shizun. What? He could only come back to plead. He could only come back to plead with Shizun for help. If Ning Ying had disappeared at this critical moment, this was no joke. Night had almost fallen. Mingfan leapt up right away. Lobinka, you... Shen Qingzhou promptly flicked his sleeves, and the tea bowl on the desk exploded. As a deterrent, it was an OOC, and more importantly, it prevented Mingfan from further digging his own grave. Shen Qingzhou assumed an expression of barely suppressed anger. If it's already come to this, there's nothing more to say. Lobinka, come with me. Mingfan, take a couple of shidi and ask landlord Chen for assistance, then go look for your shimei. Mingfan sent a hateful look to Lobinka but nodded and hurriedly left. Lobinka remained, his head lowered, not saying a single word. Shen Qingzhou knew this absolutely wasn't Lobinka's fault. Ning Ying's role as a female character wasn't just to be lovable and cute, but also to dig her own grave and be a burden. So fucked. So fucked. Airplane! What the fuck are you doing? In the original work, the number of plot twists caused by her sudden disappearances, blunders, or other messes had allowed Airplane shooting toward the sky to drag out the plot for hundreds of chapters. At times, Shen Qingzhou had been rather impressed with Lobinka's fortitude when it came to accepting harem members. He never refused anyone, daring to accept even the most troublesome of women. And he did this without being screwed over or killed. Shen Qingzhou could only say that, as expected, the brilliant protagonist truly was overwhelmingly cool, awesome, insane, and badass, with... I'm going to take a moment before I say this phrase. How did I block like 50% of this book out of my brain? This is insane. Hello, trash. Welcome back. This is the perfect time to go pop in. Perfect time. I'm gonna start this sentence over so that we're all on the same page. Shen Qingzhou could only say that, as expected, the brilliant protagonist truly was overwhelmingly cool, awesome, insane, and badass, with a dick longer than the heavens. A normal person definitely couldn't have put up with such things. This is what we're reading. This is what the fuck we're reading. I've read this multiple times. Oh my god. Lobinka, who thought Shen Qingzhou had ordered him to stay so as to beat and yell at him, said quietly, "This entire affair is this disciple's fault. If Shizun wishes to punish this disciple, he will neither resent nor regret it. He only wishes for Ning Shiji's safe return." He looked incredibly pitiful. Shen Qingzhou wanted to pat his head, but as the system's existence obstructed this, he forcibly held himself back. "Come," he said coldly. "Take me to the place where your Shiji vanished." Shiji. Lobinka and Ning Ying had lost each other at the most bustling corner of the market. Shen Qingzhou closed his eyes, and he sensed a barely perceptible thread of demonic energy. He followed that thread, which seemed like it would at any moment fray or snap, until he opened his eyes again and found that he stood at the doors of a cosmetics shop. Shen Qingzhou stared at it silently. Could it be that the murderer worked here? Would it be that easy? However, upon entering the cosmetics shop, the thread of demonic energy snapped, dissipating completely. Perhaps the murderer wasn't hiding in the shop, and had just come at some point recently. If they had patronized a cosmetics shop, was the Skinner demon a woman? Shut the fuck up, Foxy. God. Shen Qingzhou made these stabs in the dark, and he sent Lord Binghe inside to ask a few questions, but this yielded no results. The quest had been offered to him expressly so he could level up. Thus, none of its scenes had been in the original work, so he had no point of reference. Shen Qingzhou furthermore acknowledged that he wasn't a master of deduction capable of deep analytical thought. Who could infer a multitude of facts from a single clue? When playing room escape or detective games, he'd always run into dead ends. True. I don't know how the fuck your model was reading with closed eyes for 10 seconds. Yeah, it doesn't track properly sometimes. When I'm looking down, it looks like my eyes are so closed. When I'm like reading at the end of the page. It's fine, don't worry about it. It's just going into my brain and out my mouth. Don't worry about it. Yes. He's so relatable. I love this guy. As he was agonizing, the system thoughtfully notified him. We notice that you have encountered difficulties. Would you like to spend 100 B points to activate easy mode? Shit, if there was something like an easy mode, you should have said so earlier, Shen Qingzhou snapped. Activate, activate, activate! He fixed his gaze on the yes option for 3 seconds. The option blinked green and disappeared. When something in the air sent goosebumps, then something in the air sent goosebumps all down his back. Such palpable demonic energy. As if they were afraid that otherwise no one would find the target. Calling this easy mode was no lie. Shen Qingzhou wasn't the least bit ashamed about using easy mode, and with spirits soaring, he strode in the direction from which the demonic energy emanated. A mere 500 steps later, they had left the central district and arrived in front of an abandoned, neglected house. This has to be the place. Just look at those ghastly white paper lanterns. Look at those dilapidated gates. A proper haunted house. Don't you see? Shen Qingzhou schooled his expression and turned to Luo Binghe, who had been silently following him behind. Return to Chen Manor and notify Ming Fan to bring all the disciples and their talismans here. Luo Binghe had yet to speak when his pupils suddenly contracted. He was staring straight at something behind Shen Qingzhou. That didn't bode well. However, it was too late in the end, and a gust of foul wind blew past, slamming the gates open. Oh, we have to read this next part. We have to. Oh, there's an ad starting soon. That's perfect timing. Oh boy. Oh, we have to. Yeah, we just like 10 more pages, okay? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, just like 15 more pages. 20? Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just 16. Just a little more dad, probably was that soon. It's true. It's just me, except I am dad and son at the same time. I am the dad asking, "Are you winning, son?" to myself. Doesn't matter what I'm doing, I'm gonna stretch a little bit. Since I don't have to take a break to feed the dogs, I'm just taking a little break to stretch. Do I need to go to the bathroom? I don't think I do. I might need to later. We'll see. But yeah, I'm just gonna stretch a little while this ad runs on my Twitch. No, you're not. I've adopted you against your will. Against my will? Damn. Stupid ads, but at least it's Red Bull. Red Bull. That's what I need right now. It hurt me. Okay. I'm done stretching. Am I? Am I? Oh my god, I love stretching, but also I'm hypermobile, so if I stretch too much, I break. So yeah, it's a fun. Okay. We're on page 70 at the scene break. Can I not freeze like that? It's fine. If I freeze, I freeze. It doesn't matter. Okay. Shizun, wake up quickly! Shen Qingqiu woke up. Upon opening his eyes, he saw Luo Bingke opposite him, looking awfully distressed, arms and torso bound. As Shen Qingqiu roused himself, Luo Bingke heaved a sigh of relief, eyes brightening. Shizun! Shizun! Ning Ying echoed. She was tied up with Luo Bingke, her expression miserable. I love this part so much. I'm too excited to read this part. I'm too excited. It's so stupid. I love it so much. Shen Qingqiu was a little dizzy, and he had no idea of whatever crap the demon had sprayed on them had any no idea if whatever crap the demons had sprayed on them had any side effects. He was in a foul mood. This easy mode was straightforward to the point of mercilessness. It had delivered him straight to the boss's mouth. Mouth. Mouth, 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 mouth. Mouth stuff, mouth stuff, mouth stuff, mouth stuff. Okay. The worst part was that the dignified Peak Lord of Qingjing Peak had been unexpectedly struck down by a mini-boss, and thus, shortly after he woke up, the system shrilly declared, OOC, B points, minus 50. He'd just spent 100 B points to activate easy mode, and now in a flash he'd lost another 50. How could he not be distressed? The original Shen Qingqiu's skill at facing down demons should have made this quest as easy as killing a chicken with a knife. Shamefully, the knife had failed to even hit the chicken. In seconds, Shen Qingqiu discovered something that made his mood even worse. His body felt... I'm not gonna read it like that, but it feels like that. His body felt a little strange. He was chilly, and he had a slight ache all over. Upon lowering his head, he almost couldn't stop a fuck from leaving his mouth. He'd been stripped naked! Only his upper half had been stripped naked, but that was already horrifying enough. Regardless of everything else, Shen Qingqiu was still a peak lord. This appearance, with his upper half stark naked, his lower half wearing only a pair of pants and white shoes, and his forelimbs bound tightly with a thin rope as he lay sprawled on the floor. What was this? He looked exactly like a tender, pretty boy caught in bed during an illicit act. No wonder the system had deducted 50 points straight off the bat. It was deserved. Even taking him to 0 would have served him right. I fucking love him. I love him so much. Shen Qingqiu's face went from red to white and black. He wanted to dig a hole in the ground with his sword and bury himself for a while, but his sword had disappeared without a trace. Of course Luo Bingke looked both worried and a little embarrassed. He definitely assumed that, having seen Shen Qingqiu in such a sorry state, he would inevitably suffer more vicious retaliation once they got back. Shizun, you finally woke up, Ning Ying sobbed. Ying Ying is so scared. Scared? If you're scared, then don't go running off whenever you feel like it, young lady. Shen Qingqiu gave up. At this time, an unsettling chuckle came from behind him. A tall, dark silhouette emerged from the pitch blackness. The great Sangchong Mountain, the great peak lord of Qingjing Peak. This is all you amount to. If this so-called greatest sect is the world if the so-called greatest sect in the world is full of your sort, the day the demon race conquers the human realm is just around the corner. This was followed by another bout of crazed laughter. The speaker's head and face were covered with a black veil, and their voice was hoarse and unpleasant. Oh, okay, my bad. As if their throat had been ruined by opium smoke. Like, you want to draw my LC? Go ahead. Don't care about if it's good or not. Don't care. Who gives a shit? It's all for fun. It's all for shits and giggles anyway. Okay, what voice do I give them then? Okay. Shen Qingqiu squinted. The Skinner demon? That's right. It's me. I'm the Skinner demon. How wonderful that the illustrious Shuya sword has fallen into my hands today. Shen Qingqiu. Even if you think until your wits give out, you won't be able to guess my identity. Why wouldn't I be able to guess? Asked Shen Qingqiu. The Skinner demon said nothing. You're dear, aren't you? The Skinner demon said nothing again as they lifted their veil. Then she snapped in irritation. Impossible! How did you guess? Shen Qingqiu was speechless. Did she think he was blind? That he couldn't tell from her figure? Men love to look at bodies first before the face, okay? With that curvy bust and bottom, plus that tiny waist in between, she could only be a woman. This is me talking about, men. This is me talking about my lads, guys. Also, the room's furnishings smelled rich, and you couldn't find that just anywhere. Of course he knew that they'd been transported back to Chen Manor, and while Chen Manor had many women in residence, he'd only seen a couple and only been introduced to Deer. So if he had to guess, of course he could only guess Deer. He didn't know anyone else's names. How could he guess them? But who knew you'd lose your cool so quickly without denying it even a little, and jump right to lifting your veil? Could he say this? Could he? Listen, how could he say this out loud? He could only swallow it all down. Dear, or to be clear, the Skinner demon, quickly adjusted her posture and donned the face of old Master Chen's beloved concubine, thusly recovering that infinitely tender, stunning, and delighted smile. Not bad. It was indeed me. But Shen Qingqiu, even if you guessed until your wits gave out, you couldn't possibly imagine why a weak and delicate woman like me would be the culprit, right? Shen Qingqiu straightened, struggling to assume a posture that was more natural, less rule-violating. Bosses traditionally received time to monologue. How could he not offer this courtesy? Deer didn't need his encouragement and continued on promptly. The Skinner demon comes and goes without a trace, not because I can't fly through the skies or disappear into the earth, but rather because every time I finish killing a person, I change into their skin. By wearing these women's skins and imitating their behavior, I can blend into the crowd with none the wiser and search for my next target. That's not right, said Shen Qingqiu. Deer's expression darkened. What's not right? Suppose every time you kill a person, you change skins. For instance, when you killed Deer and wore her skin, you became Deer. But Deer's skinned corpse would still be there. Wouldn't someone find it strange that there are two Deers? Although, if he thought about it for a moment, he understood. It wasn't like this world had DNA identification. After skinning someone, all you had left was a messy lump of bloody flesh. Pretty difficult to tell exactly who it had been. What the fuck is happening? Make a Lego seal bunny repair. You're so rude. Okay. What the fuck? You made me lose my place, you guys. Oh my god. Pretty difficult to... Right. Body. Flesh. Gross. Looks like you figured it out too, said Deer, Not bad. I use the current woman's corpse to substitute for the last woman's. For example, oof, I had a burp. When I killed deer, I was wearing Shang-Er's skin, so everyone at that time thought Shang-Er was still alive. After I donned deer's skin, I disguised deer's corpse to look like Shang-Er's before it was found. The villain's professional integrity was really impressive. Not only had she exposed her inner thoughts and feelings, she'd also explained her methods and line of criminal reasoning in detail. Offering examples, providing personal experiences, Deer was more diligently thorough than a college entrance exam cram school teacher. Insane. He's so mean. Wearing someone's skin, excuse me. Yeah, that's what's happening right now. I mean, that is kind of commonplace in this novel. I mean, we started with Human Stick, Shen Show, so I mean, it's what it is, I guess. Luobinka had been silently listening the entire time, his eyes glittering with a trace of anger. His juvenile sense of justice had been stirred by this perverse demon's cruel actions. Meanwhile, Ning Yingying's head was spinning from all these shangs and dis. She couldn't understand it at all, but she didn't dare to interrupt. After a certain amount of time, you always change skins. Is that all whim, or do you have to? Asked Chen Qingqiu. Deer sneered. You think I'd tell you? You've already told me plenty, all right, sis? Or is it bro? What's one more? Deer walked toward where Ning Yingying and Luobinka were bound together. Luobinka remained calm, but Ning Yingying screamed, Demon! Don't come near! Shizun, save me! Deer chuckled. Your master has been bound with my immortal binding cable. Spiritual energy can no longer flow anywhere in his body. He can't hope to protect himself. How could he save you? That explained it. Shen Qingqiu had been secretly attempting to gather his spiritual power, but it seemed to be obstructed. It didn't feel nearly as plentiful as it usually did. Deer had regained monologue mode. Okay. Regained monologue mode. Damn, if it weren't for my damaged martial aspect, I would need to constantly exchange skin and absorb human chi. You're a brat, but your skin is lustrous and tender, and you're a disciple from a prestigious sect. I expect I'll be able to use you for a good long while. After I suck your skin dry, it'll be your master's turn. That way, I'll make sure the Shuya sword didn't live his life in vain. Luobinka stared, silent. Shen Qingqiu stared, also silent. What was it that she'd said? You think I'd tell you, right? Not only have you told me, you also seem to have made the astonishing decision to reveal your plan. The professional standards of this world's villains are beyond salvation. So, Shen Qingqiu said in his mind, as he shamelessly called out to the system. If I make a mistake during a quest, and I end up dead, will I get a chance to reload and try again? Only the protagonist is granted the privilege of plot armor, said the system. Great. Good thing this villain had the illustrious quality of must answer every question. If Shen Qingqiu wanted to stall for time, he needed only toss another question at Deer. Haven't you only targeted young, beautiful girls? He asked. I never said I only pick young, beautiful girls. As long as they're good-looking and their skin is fine and smooth, I'll take anyone. It's just that most of the time a man's skin isn't as good as a woman's, and the skin of the elderly is never as good as that of the youthful. As expected, Deer chattered on and on. Then suddenly her eyes flashed green with envy, and her expression grew yearning as she began to run her hands, painted with scarlet nail dye, over Shen Qingqiu's upper body. We're getting into it now. However, cultivators really are different. Even though you're a man, your skin is so glossy and smooth. It's been so long since I had my male skin. Lame. Okay, non-binary royalty? Slay. As he was felt up by those searching hands, Shen Qingqiu broke out in goosebumps. Though he strove to give off the air of spotless and untouchable, part of him was disgruntled, but another part was sympathetic. Honestly, this demon was quite pitiful. It sounded like Deer had originally been a man, but they had to keep using the skins of women due to their condition. After such a long time, of course that would make you a little twisted. In any case, right in this moment, the demon was wearing the infinitely lovely face of a concubine. Being felt up all over by those lovely hands, Shen Qingqiu inevitably became embarrassed, and he involuntarily shrank back a little. This vision, that moment, struck Luo Binghe to his core. My boy's having his sexual awakening right here, right now. Oh my god. Oh my god. Honestly, me too. Yeah, 1000% me too. I have some serious sin in the game, am I right? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Until now, he'd only ever seen Shen Qingqiu's aloof and remote attitude, his derisive expression. But here and now, a faint, uncontrollable red flush formed on his face, and the way those eyes darted away. Also, Shen Qingqiu's upper body was completely bare but for the thin yet unbreakable immortal binding cable, and the red marks it left. Shit. And for Shen Qingqiu's long, disheveled, jet-black hair, neither of which concealed anything. He is so right for this, though. Like, anyone, that would be anyone's sexual awakening. Right there. I don't know how Ning Ying is faring. I think she's too scared right now. But me? I'd be bricked up. I'd be straight up. Yeah. 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 Luo Binghe's chest was burning with a convoluted emotion that was impossible to describe. No way. I wonder what it could be. If you had let Shen Qingqiu think up an analogy for this emotion, he would have said that it was like watching a beautiful romance movie, only to discover at the end that the protagonist was that English teacher who'd always picked on you to answer questions, and who, if you failed to answer, would give your palm 300 lashes. In short, it both shattered Luo Binghe's worldview and did him great injury. Shen Qingqiu suddenly grinned. "Why are you smiling?" Deer asked warily. "I assume, I'm amused at you and your poor judgment," said Shen Qingqiu, slow and deliberate. "Pearls before swine, as they say. There are 3 options here, yet, out of them, you keep overlooking the most suitable vessel." Such a bitch. At these words, Luo Binghe's face went pale. He could never have imagined he'd be randomly thrown to the wolves. However, Shen Qingqiu wasn't speaking thoughtlessly. Remember who Luo Binghe was. In truth, he was descended from a line of ancient heavenly demons. Legend had it that these denizens of the heavens had fallen to depravity and become demons, so they were called heavenly demons, for short. As the future princes of demonkind, their bloodline was first class. If an ordinary demon got their hands on such a body, forget repairing a damaged martial aspect. Would there be anything they couldn't do? Deer looked Luo Binghe up and down. The latter strove to appear calm, but inside he was panicking and didn't know what to do. Even though he thought until his wits gave out, he couldn't figure out why he had suddenly become the star of this standoff. "If you want to trick me, you need a better lie," said Deer. "This brat's appearance and aptitude may be exemplary, and his skin's fresh and tender, but how can he compare to you? You've reached the stage of mid-core formation." "With your level of insight, it's no wonder your martial training was unsuccessful," said Shen Qingqiu, smiling. "Think about it for a moment. What kind of person am I, Shen Qingqiu? If this child possesses excellent aptitude and a fine appearance but nothing else, why would I accept him as my disciple? If I only wanted a disciple with excellent aptitude, could I not have my pick of the talents who fight to enter Sangchong Mountain Sect every year? Though, naturally, my thought process cannot be explained to outsiders." He's such a little bitch sometimes, you know? Sometimes he's just such a little bitch. But we love him for it. Deer wavered. "Excellent. This villain's IQ was truly ridiculously low. They were so easy to trick that even though Shen Qingqiu had conjured a hasty explanation riddled with logical holes, they actually seemed to half believe it." Shen Qingqiu was struck. What? Shen Qingqiu suddenly struck while the iron was hot. "If you're suspicious, there's an easy test. Let me share a method by which you can verify my words. Go over there and strike him on the crown of his head. Then you'll know whether I'm lying." Luo Bingke's face turned a ghastly white. Though he was mature for his age, he was still a child. Even most grown men couldn't stoically face their deaths, let alone a boy who was only 14 years old. Shen Qingqiu tried very hard not to look at him, and he desperately apologized in his heart over and over again. "Binghe, you're a man of virtue. Please magnanimously forgive my smack-talking and backstabbing just this once, okay? I'll never do it again. I'll definitely make it up to you in the future." Shizun, you can't be serious." Ning Ying was scared witless. He's 14 in this. Yes, right now he is 14. He's just a baby. He's just a baby. Oh my god. Shen Qingqiu was on tetherhooks. It didn't even occur to him to comfort her. He only smiled at Deer. "You don't know if I'm telling the truth now, but you'll know as soon as you try. Why hesitate? It's only a single strike against an insignificant boy. Even if I were lying to you, you aren't risking anything, are you? Are you worried that I'm telling the truth, so you dare not hit him?" In the eyes of anyone who didn't know the truth, these were the words of a man eagerly pushing Luo Bingke to his death. Luo Bingke stared in disbelief. He wondered bleakly if Shen Qingqiu's hatred for him had truly become so great. But if that were the case, why had his master been just a little nicer to him on their trip to the city? Luo Bingke couldn't help but start struggling with all his might. The ropes restraining his body became tighter and tighter, biting painfully into Ning Ying, but she didn't dare to even breathe loudly and just quietly sobbed. Shen Qingqiu's words and tone were powerfully persuasive. Deer thought for a moment, and decided at last that, true enough, they had already killed so many people. How could they be afraid to kill one more? They snorted. "I want to see exactly what sort of foolish game you're playing." As they said this, they strode toward Luo Bingke and brought their palm down. It would be over in an instant. Shen Qingqiu's pupils contracted. Right as Deer's strike came down, by curious coincidence, a ceiling beam broke. If Shen Qingqiu had still been reading Proud Immortal Demon Way upon seeing this described, he definitely would have thrown down his cell phone and started screaming curses. I thought bro was like 23. Not yet! Not yet! Bro is just a baby. Where was I? Curses. The system had already declared it so. The one unbreakable, ironclad rule was that the protagonist could not die, meaning that, as soon as the protagonist's life was threatened, a death flag would be triggered. Shen Qingqiu purposefully goaded Deer into attacking Luo Binghe in order to take advantage of this rule. He just used someone else to do his dirty work. Admittedly, this was rather unscrupulous, but Luo Binghe probably hadn't been in real danger, and if Shen Qingqiu hadn't done this, he would have had to pay the price himself. In the long term, even if he threw Luo Binghe under the bus this one time, there would be more chances to farm his favor in the future. However, to Great Master, airplane shooting toward the sky. What do you think of your reader's IQ? How could a ceiling beam suddenly snap in a perfectly fine, splendid, and beautiful new mansion? Even if it was to let the protagonist escape with his life, this twist was still downright contrived. What's the difference between this and a third-rate melodrama where the male and female leads are just about to marry when they're suddenly hit by a car in a tragic twist ending? Downvote. Shut up. The practically brand new ceiling beam followed straight down and just happened to coincidentally smash into Deer, smacking them flat onto the ground and rendering them unable to get up. The beam also coincidentally smashed into the pillar Luo Binghe and Ning Yiying were bound to, causing it to slant. Ning Yiying had already fainted from shock, but after some struggle, Luo Binghe's ropes had, further coincidentally, loosened. After this string of coincidences, Shen Qingqiu, who was still on the ground and bound by the immortal binding cable, watched as Luo Binghe stared, unmoving, at the fallen Deer in a puzzled silence. Was this it? Just as Shen Qingqiu thought that, Deer overturned the ceiling beam and sprang up. Shen Qingqiu, they snarled, enraged. The schemers of Sangchong Mountain are truly shameless and despicable. What sort of dirty trick did you just use to ambush me from behind like that? Shen Qingqiu was in fact completely innocent. This had nothing to do with him, really. If anything, the chief culprit was Luo Binghe. So you really were lying to me, trying to draw my attention away so you could sneak attack me, Deer snapped, unforgiving. Otherwise, why would a perfectly good ceiling beam come crashing down and just happen to smash into me? They also had the wits to notice that the parts of this scene that were illogical, so their IQ wasn't beyond saving. Shen Qingqiu was a little relieved. What a bitch. Deer sneered. You thought this would be enough to stop me? Keep dreaming. The immortal binding cable can only be cut by an immortal sword. You can forget about breaking it via any other means. I just praised you, and you goof up again. Don't reveal how to free the enemy, Deer. Also, did Deer think that no one could see where they'd put Zhuya? They even specifically drew back their cloak to show its place on their hip and patted it. Shen Qingqiu couldn't contain his exasperation, and he took a chance to communicate a little with the system. I need to ask, are all villains in this mold? To guarantee your ability to clear the beginner level quest, activating easy mode set the villain's IQ to below average. So fucking stupid. So fucking stupid. So fucking stupid. So, not all bosses would be this easy to fumble through. Shen Qingqiu thought it was a bit of a pity, but he still smashed the like button. Thumbs up, thumbs up. This easy mode of yours is still a bit too user-friendly. Deer gritted her teeth. I won't listen to you no matter what you say this time. Accept your death, Shen Qingqiu. One last thing, Shen Qingqiu shouted. Sure enough, governed by easy mode, Deer stopped. What last words do you still have? Shen Qingqiu thought for a while. How does it feel to sleep with a 60-year-old coot? Fucking cunt. God, he's such a bitch. God, He's such a bitch. Deer was struck silent, but they were subsequently so enraged that their expression twisted, their entire body trembling. Lobinka took the chance to suddenly rush the demon from behind. He snatched Shuya from Dier's hip and drew the sword, filling the entire room with pure white light. A curved flash of silver, and the immortal binding cable on Shen Qingzhou's body was neatly severed. Once more, betrayed by the IQ loss of easy mode, the mini-boss Dier had completely ignored the existence of a living, breathing Lobinka standing right next to him. What? That is all wrong. What I just said is all wrong. Living, breathing Lobinka standing right behind them. Dier cried out in a fear. This is impossible! Enough! I'm not the listening type. I don't want to hear a rote analysis of the boss's true motives right before their death. The corner of Shen Qingzou's mouth twitched, and he gathered all his spiritual power into his right hand, lashing out with a palm strike and smacking Dier in the chest. The demon flew back like a kite with a snapped string. He's making up his own novel. Yeah, it's true. Sometimes I read words that are just not even close to what is on the page. It's insane. I don't even know where they come from. Anyway, this was the first time Shen Qingzhou had killed someone, but he didn't hold back, not even a little. First, because this was a book. Second, because this was a demon who'd killed countless people. And third, because if he didn't, he'd be the one who got killed. Shen Qingzhou gazed down at the horrible state of Dier. 4 limbs twisted and broken, bleeding from the 7 facial apertures. He turned away, bombarding his own brain with a barrage of his 3 reasons, until they blocked out the screen of his mind. Striving to remain calm, he slowly stood and straightened, settled his heart and breathing, fixed his posture, and turned to Lobinka. This is your first time seeing someone eliminate demons and uphold justice, he said. Were you scared? Lobinka's still childish face was slightly pale. If you wish to uphold, you must eliminate, said Shen Qingzhou, composed. Lobinka gritted his teeth. His voice quavered. Shizun, if this disciple may be so bold as to ask, just now. When the second half of the sentence didn't arrive, Shen Qingzhou spoke. You want to ask if that ceiling beam hadn't suddenly come crashing down, what was this master's plan? Shen Qingzhou had no choice but to suffer in silence. He yearned to tell Lobinka, don't worry, even if the ceiling beam hadn't collapsed, perhaps the wall would have. Even if the wall hadn't, perhaps the pillar would have. Long story short, you definitely wouldn't have died. The boss definitely would have, and that's all there is to it. But he couldn't speak these words, so he could only adopt an unpredictable air and evade the question by changing the subject. If you're asking this, are you blaming this master? Lobinka shook his head. No, he said, his expression sincere. If this disciple could give up his life for Shizun, it would be an honor. Precious boy! Precious baby! Shen Qingzhou was shaken. This kid really was too much of a white lotus. Then this master will promise you in kind, he said after thinking for a moment, and settled on properly ambiguous words. Even if an accident befalls this master, no misfortune will come to you. Quite ambiguous indeed. This was an absolute truth. Even if Shen Qingzhou died 100 times, 100 times, Lobinka, I'm sorry, it literally interrupted itself. 100 times. Lobinka, the protagonist with impervious plot armor, would go on living in perfect health. On this matter, I speak nothing but the truth. His voice resounded as he said this, his expression confident and collected, without the slightest hint of falsehood. When Luo Bingke heard these words, it was as if his life force had been ignited. The sunflower that had begun to wilt revived, full of renewed vigor. Holding Zhuya in both swords. In both hands, Luo Bingke lifted the blade until it was even with his brow and presented it to Shen Qingqiu. Shizun, your sword. Shen Qingqiu grasped Zhuya, taking it from him. Internally, he wiped away his sweat, for now this child was way too easy to dupe. He had been thrown under the bus and frightened out of his wits, but a couple of words were all it took to restore him to full health in the blink of an eye. But in the future, he wouldn't be so easy to fool. The path to adulthood truly was tangled with thorns and suffering. Then a series of system notifications came to him like a succession of cannon blasts, sending Shen Qingqiu to Cloud 9. Ning Yingying's favor increased, protagonist satisfaction points plus 50. Obtained high-level item, immortal binding cable, villain strength plus 30. Completed beginner level quest B points plus 200. OOC future in Frozen. From this point on, you have full command over Shen Qingqiu's accounts controls. Congratulations. Please continue to work hard. Shen Qingqiu had fallen a little in love with the sensation of these dramatic ups and downs. The intense joys and sorrows. It was basically gambling. And now the OOC future was... What future? And now the OOC feature was unfrozen. From this point on, he could finally carry out the great and glorious task of clinging to the male lead's thighs. What a bitch. What a bitch. God, I love him and his stupid bitchy self. Okay, that is where we are leaving off on today. This chapter is long as hell. Remember, this book is only like 5 chapters. But yeah, that's where we're leaving off today on page 85. The end of page 85. 85. Yeah, it's only been it's almost been 2 hours. Come on. Okay. I've been struggling to read. We're good. We'll leave that for next week. Boy, oh boy. Hey, gotta do what I gotta do. Also, my friend is has been texting me constantly throughout this whole stream because of a fucking idol show that is ending right now. I'm scared. It's fine. It's fine though. It's fine though. I'm invested in this idol show now too. Anyway, put this down. Wow, how are we doing? How was that couple of pages? How are we? I am tired. I'm gonna go to bed after this. I love this book. I love this book so much that I can read it when I'm this fucking tired, okay? That says so much about how much I love this book. I'll go to your other boyfriends and you hate us. Real! I have to go see Raphael. My boy Raphael. My other fishy boy. When you next stream? My next stream? Hey, my next stream's on Wednesday. I have my schedule out already. But yeah, next stream on Wednesday. I wonder what it could be. No way. If you love bro, let me go to bed. Let me go to sleep. Oh my god, this person's not letting me sleep. This trash is not letting me sleep. Kidding. I'm kidding. Don't worry. You got Discord group is what I mean. You on Discord? I have a kind of. I'll invite you, Foxy, because yeah, obviously. Right, we're playing Played Up later on Wednesday. I'm playing Played Up with Foxy on Wednesday. That's why this is happening right now. Yeah. Don't worry. We'll be good. We'll be good. We'll have a good time. Anyway, shall we find someone to raid? Shall we find someone to? Oh my god. Okay. Yeah, Iron Mouse. Let's go. No, we'll be raiding Lyro. Lyro VT. Lyro VT. They're playing Splatoon. Because of course. Silly splats. Alright, but thanks for being here. I appreciate the company while I'm this shit at reading. But yeah, I'll see you all on Wednesday or Friday or next week. Yes, I will be streaming next week, I believe. I don't think I'll be streaming on the week after that. But I think I'll be streaming I'll be streaming next week. Okay. But yeah, that's all for today. Let's do a start raid. Let's go to sleep, thank you. And we will do that in a second. Alright, stay safe. Take care of yourself and mask up. Goodbye. Say hi to Lyro. Bye.